Maga naga maga. Let me get set up here. I've noticed in the bulletin that there's a place to write notes now. Just don't show them to me because I don't know what I'm going to say. It is good to be back again in our study of the book of Psalms. I think the plan was to go through Psalm 1 to 12. So next week will be Psalm 12 if I'm not mistaken. And then we will begin to branch off into other Psalms and go to other Psalms throughout the book of Psalms. And we were going to be looking at some of the very familiar Psalms, Psalm 22, Psalm 23, Psalm 24, and something that's coming up and soon. It will be the first time we do this will be the last Sunday of this month. Will be what we call a Psalm Sunday. And what that's going to be is where we're going to have a time of extended worship. There's not going to be a sermon. Pastor Norman, I think, will do a devotional. But we're going to read through different Psalms that we're not preaching through. And we're going to ask some of you to actually come up and read. And then we'll be singing songs. And it's going to be a worshipful time. And in the next couple of days, our elders are going to meet to finalize how that worship service will be. But we're going to do 3 of these this year. And it'll be whenever there's a 5th Sunday in a month, that's what we will be doing. And I think the churches in Bulacan and Dasma will be doing something very similar to that as well. So be preparing your heart for that. That's something new for us and as a church to be able to participate in. The sad part, in one sense, is I won't be here for the first one because I have to be in Cebu. And I'm coming back that night. We will have a module, and I've been asked to preach at a church Saturday night. They have a Saturday night service and a Sunday morning service. It's one of the pastors who's in the preaching program. And so when you're having the Psalm Sunday service here, I will be preaching at a church in Cebu. But I will get on a plane that evening and come back. But I'm not going to be here for the first one. But I will be here for the second and the third one. So I've looked at the calendar. I'm keeping them free. No trips on those Sundays. But anyway, today, though, we're looking at Psalm 11. Psalm 11. And a lot of these Psalms in the first 12 Psalms have had a running theme through them. Even though they're not fully connected to each other, each of these has been authored by David. And I think that most of them were written by David around the same point in his life when he was already king, and he had experienced some interesting situations in his life being in the position as king over the nation. And a lot of these Psalms, what you have to realize is that these Psalms are expressions of the heart, okay? They're the emotional element of what is happening inside of David's heart and mind, and his thoughts and meditations of his heart upon the Lord in regards to the circumstances that he finds himself in. And so David being a king in Israel was never an easy thing. It was not, like what you would think, where he's just sitting around eating grapes, and thinking, oh, life is so easy. No, it was not like that at all. There was constant fear. There was constant battles, or the rumor of battles, or the rumor of insurrection. I mean, it wasn't easy being the king. And David, when you read the historical accounts, you see exactly what happened. But when you read the Psalms, you get an insight into the emotional state of David and how he is processing all that is happening around him. And that's true of life. That's true of what you face, what I face. Whenever there's a situation that occurs, you can watch the news media and they will give you the factual evidence or factual data of what transpired. But whenever there's a difficult situation, there are people who have to deal with that emotionally at different levels. Had an interesting thing happen this week. There's another missionary family who lives here in the Philippines. They've been here for over 20-something years. And the missionary family, they're not connected directly with our team. You probably would not know them if I gave you their name. But they've lived here for many years and served here. And they served at Faith Academy for many years in Valley Golf area. And then for the last few years, he's the husband is a married couple. All their children are gone. They're empty nesters, if you want to call them that. But in their service here, their ministry here in the Philippines over the few last recent years, he has been mentoring pastors out near Morong, Tanay area, Antipolo area. And that's been his ministry. And I've known him over the years because we're connected by the same church. And so Monday, we were going to do some things together, or he was going to do some things with Brother Bob. And his wife texted me. And this was Monday, the day after Easter, day after Resurrection, Sunday. And said that the event that was planned for this coming Tuesday was going to be canceled. And the reason is he passed away. Very suddenly. Unexpected. The official news that we found, or that we heard, was that he had a heart attack. And so in the moment when we did not realize something like that would happen, he went into the presence of the Lord. And so life can throw you what we call, we use an expression, life can throw you a curveball. If you're familiar with American baseball, you understand that expression. Life can come at you and things can happen that are unexpected. And sometimes things can happen that are unexpected that can put your life into a very difficult place. A crisis, we would say. A very difficult situation. And for the Lord, He knows all things, right? He's above all things. Nothing takes Him by surprise, but it does take us by surprise. And when things like that happen, how are we going to respond? How do we process those kinds of situations that we find ourselves in? How do we process that emotionally, mentally, knowing that God is on His throne, knowing the truth that God is sovereign over all things? That yes, God is God. He is Lord. He controls all things. Nothing escapes His notice. We can go back to that truth and find comfort in it, but at the end of the day, how do we really come to understand and deal with emotionally these types of situations that come into our life and still give God the glory in the midst of it all? How do we do that? Well, Psalm 11 addresses that issue. Psalm 11, David's thoughts here, David's meditation in this psalm addresses that specific kind of issue. For David, being the king, he had curved balls that were thrown at him. Things that happened that surprised him. I mean, who would want their own son, one of their own sons, to go against him and try to take over and lead the coup that would try to take over the country? That would be unexpected in one sense of the word. I mean, things can happen that, and David experienced it, and how does he process that emotionally so he can still give God the glory? It's one thing to say to yourself, yes, God, you're on the throne. God, you are sovereign. God, you are in charge. But I don't care. I'm still depressed. I don't care. I'm still emotionally not there yet. I know that that's true, but God, day by day, I struggle working through whatever this situation might be on a day-by-day basis because, yes, I know the truth about who you are, but I don't feel it. I don't feel it. And how can I feel it, Lord? How can I truly resonate, or how can I truly connect with that truth that you are God and that you are sovereign, and we need to have faith in you, trust in you, not only for salvation, but every day? How do I go about reaching that point where I fully understand and I connect to the fact that you will take care of me? It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to fully feel it and be able to truly believe it in all of its fullness. And for David, what he writes about in this short psalm, not many verses, he deals with that issue. Let me just read the psalm to you, and then I'll set the scene and look at it. David writes in Psalm 11, to the choir master of David, in the Lord I take refuge. How can you say to my soul, flee like a bird to your mountain? For behold, the wicked bend the bow. They have fitted their arrow to the string, to shoot in the dark at the upright in heart. If the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord's in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes see, his eyelids test the children of man. The Lord tests the righteous, but his soul hates the wicked and the one who loves violence. Let God, rain coals on the wicked. Fire, sulfur, and scorching wind shall be the portion of their cup. For the Lord is righteous. He loves righteous deeds. And those who are the upright shall behold his face. Even though this psalm does not directly refer to a specific instance in David's life, there's no chapter and verse that you can go back to that is the historical situation where this psalm is a result of it. But as you read through this psalm and as you look at it and examine it, you can kind of get an understanding of what David's referring to. Either the situation has already happened and he's referring back to it, or he's in the middle of it, the situation is currently happening and he's dealing with it, or it's something that he knows will happen in the future because it may have already happened in the past. It may just have a new name to it, new people involved, but it's the same kind of thing that may repeat itself. And either which way it is, historically, it could be in the past, present, or future, no matter what time frame it's going to happen or has happened or is currently happening, David is going to deal with that situation from an emotional standpoint and say, how can I still give glory to God in the midst of that? The situation that he specifically refers to, or the kind of problem or surprise that happens in his life, is listed really in verse 2. He just talks about the wicked, those who are the enemies. And the picture is of like an invading army or someone who doesn't like David. And, as being king, you don't have a lot of friends. A lot of people, you're up on the chopping block, we would say. And he talks about how the wicked, they bend their bow. That means they're ready for an attack, is the idea. That's the imagery. They're going to attack. And it says they have fitted their arrow to the string. You've seen this like in movies, where they bend it back and it's very slow motion, right? And you can even see their hands shaking and they're like Robin Hood, going to aim for the target. So they're bending their bow back and the string back. They got the arrow in there. They're ready to release. And it is as though they're hiding. It says they shoot in the dark. So it's like the army's walking by, and they're like the assassin, ready to throw the arrow, to release the arrow. They're in hiding. And what they're doing is they're going against, they want to release their arrow on those who are the upright. It's like David saying there's a bunch of ninjas out there. They're hiding. They're assassins. And they're ready to strike, and they're ready to go against our army. They're ready to fight against us. And we're walking, and we know they're there, but we can't see them. And the whole point is to surprise us. They want to strike at their moment. They want to release their arrow when they're ready. They're bending it back. And as we're walking and we're trying to go to where we need to go, the enemy wants to do a surprise attack. And what they want to do is strike fear into us. They want to destroy the foundations, verse 3. The foundation is that which you know to be true. They want to, it's not a frontal attack. This is not an attack that comes at you when you see it happening. This is a surprise attack, and the whole point of it is it's like they're the terrorists. They want to put fear into your life so that you won't do what you normally do. They want you to be afraid. They want to strike fear. They don't want you to trust in God. They don't want you to have any confidence in God. They want you to be fearful. And what the message they're trying to send by striking you in the dark is that we can destroy the very foundations of your life. What you know to be true, what you believe to be true, we will fight that. We will make it so that you don't believe that anymore. And David says if the foundations are literally, if they do accomplish what they want us, their agenda, if it happens where the foundations are destroyed, what are the righteous going to do then? There's nothing we can do. If it's like this, what if God didn't exist? What if the atheist who says there is no God, what if he was right? What if there's no God? What if there's no Lord? What if there's no salvation? Jesus never even existed, let alone die and rise again. What if all we've been believing is a fairy tale? Well, we're pretty miserable people, aren't we? We have no hope in this world. You ever been to heaven? I haven't. Did you see Jesus die on the cross? I know. Mel Gibson portrayed him, but I never saw it. I wasn't there. The foundations of our life are what the Word of God says, right? That's our foundational thing. That's what holds us together. That's what keeps it real for us. If there's no God, if there's no salvation, if there's nothing, if all that's just a fable and made up myth, we're hopeless. We've been believing a lie. And that's what the atheist, that's what the agnostic, that's what the world would try to tell us. The enemy wants to strike fear and say, you really believe there is a God? It's like what the devil said to Eve. Did God really say? That's how the devil can lead people and tempt people into sin. The only way we live in this world in service to our God is we have to know that He's real and He's true and that what He says is true. And the enemy is trying to destroy that. That's what David's trying to picture here by using the imagery of an invading army. Or not really of an invading army, of a terrorist group trying to strike fear in your heart. Trying to make the foundations, the things that you know are true, the things that you know are reliable, to take that away. And so how is David going to deal with that? He says, Lord, I take refuge in you. When the enemy's trying to destroy my confidence in you, I will not let that happen. They may say you don't exist. They may say that your resurrection never really happened. They may say that you never really died on a cross. They may say you were just a man. They may say that you just, he was a good guy trying to help us all out. But he can't be God. They may doubt you, deny you, attack you, marginalize you, speak evil of you. I am not going to listen to that. In you I will trust. In you I will take refuge. And that's why I can't say to my soul, flee like a bird to your mountain. That's the escapist mentality. Okay, if God's not real, if all this is not true, then be like a bird and go and hide somewhere. Put your head under a rock. Get your head in the sand. The idea is if it's all for nothing, if what we've been believing is all in vain, if God's not real, either go hide somewhere or eat, drink, and be merry. Just live it up because, we got nothing to live for anyway. Just enjoy life, and then when it's over, it's over. That's the atheist idea. Try to be good to people, but at the end of the day, just live, eat, drink, and be merry. Live it up in this world, because when you're dead, it's all over. You don't go anywhere. You don't go to heaven or hell. You're just kind of out of existence. That's hope. That's what they say, but they're wrong. The idea is when you go through a stressful situation, a difficult situation, a crisis situation, when you face those kinds of things, and you will, they will happen. And they will happen when you least expect it. And they will be traumatic. They will change your life. How do you deal with that? Do you let it destroy you? Or do you say, Lord, no matter what happens, I'm going to take refuge in you. Because through all of it, no matter how bad the situation might be, and no matter what it looks like, when you know it is a crisis situation, you have to trust in God that He will provide the security and the protection that you need through it all. You could face life-terminating illness. You could face something that is so traumatic you don't even know how to think straight. You don't know how to process. What do we do? How do we focus? How do we face the next day knowing that something has happened that's out of our control? How do we move forward? You do it by saying, Lord, I don't have all the answers to all the questions. I may not know everything, but I'm not going to flee like a bird to the mountains. I'm not going to run away and hide. I'm going to face it knowing that you are on your throne. Even though the enemy wants to attack me, even though the enemy wants me to not have any confidence in you, my confidence will remain in you because I will take refuge in you. It's one thing to know that absent in the body, present with the Lord. That's true. If you know Jesus as Lord and Savior, at the moment of your death, whenever that happens, you're instantly with the Lord. So, if you think about it, you have nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. However, how many of us daily fear death? I mean, emotionally, we know that God's got it taken care of. But we don't want to die today, do we? No. I don't think that's your desire. It's not my desire. I'm not looking for that. But I know one day it'll happen. And when loved ones leave us, when loved ones pass away and go to be with the Lord, how do we process that? We have to take refuge in our God. David is thinking, I'm leading this army, we're moving from point A to point B, and I know that there are people out there that want to throw their arrows at us, and they want to do it in secret. They're going to shoot at us in the dark where we can't see them. And how do I face that fear? How do I face the fear of that? I take refuge. It would be one thing, here's the army going through, they're going from point A to point B, and you know that the enemy's out there hiding in the bushes. They're hiding behind the trees, they're hiding, and they want to attack us. And then what about if the army's walking and then they realize, wait a minute, where did David go? Where's our leader? Oh, he fled to the mountain. He's gone. No, I'm not going to flee. I'm going to take refuge in the Lord. It's knowing that, it's not just knowing that God is on his throne. It's realizing that God will provide the security and the protection that you need in his wisdom. He won't let anything happen to you unless he chooses it to happen to you. Okay? It may take you by surprise. It never takes God by surprise. Never does. He saw it coming a mile away or many kilometers away. He knows everything. And when we realize that, we can put our full trust in him and take refuge. The idea of refuge means security and protection. We don't flee to the mountain and put our head in the sand. We stay confident in our God, keeping our eyes on him and hiding in him. That's where we go. We don't lose our confidence in God in the midst of the storm, in the midst of the crisis, because we know that he is in charge and he will take care of us and take care of every situation. And when it's time for you to go be with him, he will bring you there. And not any second sooner. My mother had cancer. She died of cancer when she was 42. And I was only 17 when that happened. And I saw her body over 2 years get eaten up by cancer. It's not a pretty situation. It's a horrible situation. And it's not easy to deal with that. I know that my mother knew the Lord. She's with the Lord. But just beyond all of that, how do I move forward? How do you move forward every day? Knowing your mom is gone. You got to take refuge in the Lord. And what that means is you got to trust in God that he, day by day, moment by moment, will guide you, lead you, and overshadow you. And it's not just putting on a happy face. It's not. Sometimes the people who smile the most are really depressed the most. It's not just what you do on the outside and externally. It's what you know deep in your heart. It's what you know to be true. And that, God, I haven't seen you. I've never heard your voice audibly. I've never seen your face. I don't even know what heaven truly looks like. But I know it's there. And I know you're real. And I know one day I will see you face to face. And not a moment any sooner than what you want and what you desire. So in the midst of the crisis, no matter what it is, It could be a crisis that you're personally facing. It could be a crisis that a family member is facing. It could be a crisis that a friend, a neighbor is facing. But it's a crisis, or it's a traumatic event, or life-changing kind of an event especially, that you could be fearful of. You could begin to grow fearful about that. God says, no, trust Him. See Him as your security. The enemy cannot destroy you unless God allows it. Go back to Job. God was in total control of that situation. The devil could not do anything unless he got permission by God. And David says, I will take refuge in you. I will trust in you to provide all the security, all the protection that I need. Now, the second half of the psalm, verses 4 to 7, it's still David having confidence in the Lord when he's experiencing a crisis, but this time he's looking at it from a different angle. Not only does he trust in the Lord to provide security and protection in the midst of the situation, but he knows that the Lord is going to provide vindication and justice. You know, the Lord's going to take care of it all. You know, you want to know why there's problems in this world? We have problems in this world not because we have bad governments. Yes, we have bad governments. But there's a reason why we have bad governments. There's a reason why we have all these problems in the world. It goes back to the word called sin. Sin exists in this world. It is why this world will not last. Eventually, there will come a day where this earth, this planet, will go boom. That'll be the real Big Bang. And it will just go away. This earth was never created. It's not going to be eternally sustainable. It will melt with fervent heat, as Peter says in 2 Peter 3. It's going to melt with fervent heat. That means it's going to dissolve. The book of Hebrews quoting the Old Testament. It's going to be rolled up like a scroll. So, you know, the big house and the cars and, hey, the traffic will go away eventually. There will come a day where there's no more traffic in Manila. It'll all be boom, gone. And God is going to take care of the issue of sin. Yes, He died on the cross, rose again from the dead, so He could provide salvation for us. But God is, as you read the scriptures, God is going to deal with the issue of sin. And the final thing He'll do is take out this current heavens universe that we live in. It's going to go bye-bye, and we're going to live in a new heaven and a new earth. A totally new universe that has a new environment. It's an environment where there's no more death. Wow. There's not even going to be any more tears. Wow. We can't. Have you ever experienced that? That's like utopia, but not the secular version of it. It's real peace. It's everlasting peace. To live in a world where there's no more sin, there's no more breaking down, there's no more problems. We don't know what that's like. Man, every day we wake up, there's a problem. My problema tayo. Every day we have problems. Every day it's difficult. You know, you wake up in the morning, you turn on your cell phone, it's not working. Well, on, low bat. I want a cell phone that never has 100% charge all the time. Try that one. Not going to get that in this life. But David, what he reflects on here in verses 4 to 7 is that God, if you want to really have confidence in God in the midst of the problems, in the midst of the crisis, realize that God's going to take care of everything. He says the Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. That's a synonymous statement. They mean the same thing. His eyes see. Here's the omniscience of God. His eyelids test the children of man. And that's, the technical term is called anthropomorphism. You know, it's that God is a spirit. He doesn't really have eyelids, but the expression is that he's ever seeing. It's to address the idea that God, or the truth, that God is omniscient, and he tests, it says the children of man. That means everybody. No matter who you are. In other words, God is examining the hearts of every person on the planet. He looks deeply into the soul. He sees everything. He knows all things, David is saying. He's high and lifted up, and he sees everything. His laser focus sees right into the depths of your soul and everybody else's. He even tests the righteous. He looks at the hearts of the righteous. Those who love him, those who worship him, those who walk in accordance to him. But he also has his laser focus on the wicked. Those whose hearts are not with him, those whose hearts are against him, those whose hearts would oppose him. And he says in verse 5, his soul hates the wicked. Just think about that. His soul hates the wicked and the ones who love violence. The wicked refers to that they're in their heart. In their heart, they're wicked. They're not righteous. They're the opposite. Psalm 1, remember? The contrast between the righteous and the wicked. This is that same kind of contrast. God looks at the hearts of everyone. His laser focus, his eyes are focused in on every single person on the planet. He knows who are the righteous. He knows who are the wicked. And he says his soul abhors the wicked, hates the wicked. And the ones who love violence. God does not like evil. And so what's God going to do? When he tests the righteous and he tests the wicked, what's God going to do with all that? Well, for the wicked, verse 6, he's going to rain coals on the wicked. That's not a good thing, okay? Okay, a coal is something that helps fire burn, right? It's connected with fire. Imagine if coal was coming down from the sky. What would you do? Run, right? Get out of there, you know? Let me tell you something. If you're near a volcano when it's erupting, get away. Don't take selfies, you know. Hey, look at that, erupting volcano. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Run, get out of town. You know? I think I saw some people, volcano was erupting somewhere, right? I think they were doing selfies. Yeah. I'm like, get out of there. This is not the time to do that. So he's going to rain coals on the wicked, fire, sulfur, scorching wind. That's not a good thing. And that's going to be the portion that they get, you know? The portion of their cup is what their cup is filled with. You like to drink 3-in-1, right? That's what your portion you like. What if you were drinking the sulfur, drinking the fire? Bitter. That ought to be a 3-in-1 cup. You know, make a package of coffee called Fire, sulfur, and scorching wind. See if it sells. There's the 3 in 1. And so God's going to, when he tests the wicked, David says he's going to judge them. I mean, this ought to put true fear into the heart of people. If you don't truly believe in Jesus as Lord and Savior, let me tell you, it's not going to go well for you. There is a day coming that will not do well for you. For those who are the wicked. And the wicked are not just your terrorists, your drug pushers. The wicked are those, they can look great on the outside. They can look very religious. They can look very moral. They can look like people who would never hurt anyone. But wickedness is not just an external act. Wickedness starts in the heart. And at the end of it, God will judge. He will provide justice. What about the righteous? See, the Lord is righteous. That's who He is. That's His character. And He loves righteous deeds. So those who are upright, here's the contrast. Those who are wicked, the portion that they receive is eternal damnation in lake of fire, right? This is what the Bible teaches. I shake my head when I hear about these people saying, Jesus never taught that there was a hell. What? Jesus never spoke about hell. What? It's like, what Bible are you reading? But the righteous, listen to this phrase, the last statement. The upright shall behold His face. And that's going beyond just saying we're going to heaven. You're actually going to behold it. You're going to look and see it. You've never seen the Lord face to face. I've never either. And those who write books about that really haven't. Anybody who's gone to heaven, they don't come back. It may make for a great movie. It's just not reality. Trust me, you go to heaven, you're not coming back. But the day that you do, absent in the body, present with the Lord, you're going to behold His face. And that will be the ultimate reality that you've ever experienced. I remember growing up, there would be Christians I would hear, and I know what they were saying. They would, I'm looking for that mansion in heaven. I'm like, well, yeah, we'll get that. But what about our God? That's going to be the most beautiful thing. Not just to know that He exists, not just to know that He's true, not just to know that He's been gracious and merciful to us and saved us, but to actually see Him and behold His face. That means your eyes are not moving anywhere. They're going to be fixed. And David says that's what God will do. When you're going through sometimes the crisis that you deal with could be because of evil in this world. And you have to know, not only you have to trust in God that He will provide the security and protection that you need. He will be in charge of that. But He will also provide vindication on your part. He vindicates the upright. He vindicates the righteous. He brings you to his heaven to behold his face, and he judges the wicked. And he can do that because he's all-knowing, all-seeing, and all-powerful. Because he's God. This psalm is about having confidence in the midst of the storm. Having confidence in the midst of the crisis, no matter what that crisis looks like. No matter if it's a direct result of evil in this world, or if it's the direct result or the implied result of evil, or whatever it is. Sometimes we face things just because there's sin in this world. Doesn't mean someone personally sinned against us, but this world has been cursed. It's breaking down. I mean, you build something, and how long does it take before it starts falling apart? I mean, you do something, you fix something, and then it breaks. You know, I got the CR in our home has the bidets, the sprayers. I've replaced it 4 times because we have such high water pressure. You know, one time I'm sitting in the living room area, and all of a sudden we hear, and I'm like, what? So thing just popped off, Okay, get a new one. So things break down. This world is not going to survive. And don't put your trust in it. Don't put your hope in it. Hate to break it to you. There's going to come a day there's no more America. There's no more Korea. No more K-drama. No more K-pop. No more baseball. Cy Young. Yeah, gone. Voila. But what there will be, and it'll be much better, we'll be beholding the face of our Lord forever. And that's when there's no more tears. There's no more crying. There's no more pain. There's no more sorrow. And that's what we can hope in. And that's what we can trust in, even in the midst of the storm that we face today, or the crisis that we face today. What a beautiful psalm this is. That gives us encouragement, that gives us confidence in the Lord, that helps us to process emotionally. See, when you have confidence, it's not that you're psyching yourself up. I will bear through it. It's really that, yes, what you know to be true, that God is God, that you understand it in your heart in the depths of your soul. And it doesn't mean you don't shed a tear. Yes, you feel pain. But even through the midst of the pain, you know that nothing, that God is still in full control, and he will take care of everybody associated with the crisis, no matter who they are. He'll take care of it. We may not fully understand how he takes care of it, but he'll take care of it. And we have to believe in him, trust in him for that every day. That's walking by faith. That's living with hope. That's facing each day knowing that God has you there for this moment. You know, you live where you live because God has you there. You go to the school that you go to because God has you there. You work where you work because God has you there. And just rejoice in that. Be content where you're at. And God will lead you and God will guide you and take you where you need to be. But we can have confidence in God no matter what happens, because he's on his throne and he takes care of everything, even us, in the midst of the storm. Lord, as we focus on the truth and the joy of knowing that you are in charge, help us to really see the implications of all of that, that you have followed through all of that, and you provide the security that we need. You provide the protection that we need. And Lord, you will take care of sin in this world. Lord, you are in charge. And Lord, we know that to be true. Help us to feel it emotionally as well. Help us to sense it in the depths of our soul, so that we have confidence, so that our confidence grows in you. Lord, our emotions can go everywhere, but Lord, help our emotions to be centered in your truth. Help us to realize that you take care of everything, no matter how bad the situation may appear. You are still in the midst of that storm. We can trust in you, hope in you, rejoice in you each and every day. And Lord, we give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.